that I just wanted to leave Trinidad, never go back, hate being Trinidadian. What's up, creative people? Welcome back to my channel. For those of you who are new, my name is Anika Jones. I'm an activist artist based in Tampa, Florida, and I'm sharing my journey with you in hopes that I can inspire you to paint the life that you want through soulful, intentional, and creative living. As you can probably read by the title, I am going to be discussing my move from Trinidad and Tobago to America, so let's jump into it. So because I've been in America for about 6 years now, a lot of people think that my journey started here, but it really started in Trinidad and Tobago. So I was born and raised in Trinidad, and I've always been an artist. I've always been into drawing, sketching, and sketching people. So I would ask my family to pose for me. Anytime there was a creative project involved, I knew that I had that support. But my time in Trinidad and Tobago was more experimental in terms of building my technical skills. So that was what I did in school. I actually always did art as an extra subject. And there were a couple of reasons I started my journey in Trinidad, but I felt like I needed it to be continued outside of Trinidad, outside of the Caribbean. So coming to the United States was where I really got my foot in the ground. There are 5 main reasons behind my decision to move from Trinidad to the United States. So what I'm going to do is actually go through all of these reasons, and you're going to want to stay until the end because number 1 is most important. It's something that I believe a lot of other artists can relate to, regardless of if you're coming from a Caribbean country or outside of the US. So let's get started. My environment definitely played a huge role in my decision to leave Trinidad and come to the United States because I'm the last of 4 daughters, and all 3 of my sisters had previously gone to college in the US, New York, Orlando, etc. And so I knew that I kind of wanted to follow in their footsteps of experiencing life outside of Trinidad and experiencing college or university. But I knew that it would be different for me because I was hoping to do art. With most things, Caribbean parents are usually very strict, very rigid. There are a lot of rules. But luckily for me, I had that freedom in determining where I wanted to go or kind of finding my path with art. I wanted to pursue an education in it. I wanted to do it maybe outside of Trinidad, and I did have the support through my family. And so that I will be forever grateful for. I know that starting out as an artist, a lot of people don't have a great support system because they usually have outside doubts or outside opinions of, you probably may not be successful or you will not be able to have a long-term sustainable career with it. And it's not that you don't have people that believe in you, but maybe they haven't seen great examples of people who have been successful. So I'm curious to know what your experience was like, if you did have a strong support system in the beginning and your environment itself was allowing you to expand and be abundant with your creative career and creative journey, whether that be through education, whether that be through just experimentation and you being self-taught and kind of going on the path on your own. Let me know in the comments what your environment and support system is like, and if it was something that was strong in helping you build that foundation or if it was different. So the 4th reason was actually opportunity. In the Caribbean and Trinidad and Tobago, luckily there are programs through the Ministry of Education where, based on how you perform in the Caribbean and nationally and locally, you're able to be awarded scholarship opportunities for you to study abroad, for you to study within the Caribbean, for you to study within Trinidad and Tobago. And so the big thing at the time was winning a full scholarship or winning an additional. I obviously wanted to win a full scholarship because that meant your program is funded. I can go study in the UK, I can go study wherever. Regardless of how expensive it was, I didn't have that burden of thinking of, oh, because it's an art program, it's a lot more expensive, it's going to be a bigger burden on my parents or family. And so that was what I was rooting for. But I actually ended up getting the additional scholarship. And that was still a great opportunity for me because it allowed lifting of that financial burden in some capacity, but it allowed me to start thinking about the possibility of seeing myself expand and grow and build a career as an artist outside of the Caribbean, outside of Trinidad and Tobago. And so that's when I really started looking into art programs as a whole or universities in the United States. Also, why I'm referring to the reason as an opportunity is because I know not many people have access to education and not many people have access to free education on top of that. So being in Trinidad and Tobago and having access to a place where I'm able to learn about art in high school, but also have the opportunity to go and expand and learn through university and through college, it just made me more motivated in, again, wanting that full scholarship, although I did end up with the additional, just being motivated to say, this is possible for me. If I can make that happen, then why not pursue it? So reason number 3 would be access. And this is kind of broken up into different parts for me. But the first part would be exhibition space. While I was at Bishop Anstey High School in Trinidad and Tobago, we would often go on like art field trips and visit different galleries or different shows that they were having. We would get invited. And so students would be able to kind of go, take a look, walk through the gallery, meet the artists, etc. And I would notice that there was a rotating group of artists that would constantly be on exhibits. And when I looked back, I've kind of realized that it's years that these artists had been on rotation and that I didn't really see any opportunities for new and emerging artists at that time. When I was in Trinidad, I didn't see any opportunities for new artists coming into this space and showing their work. And so it made me question my ability to, once I had graduated, enter that space with confidence and enter with ease, or even enter at all, because the only people that I had seen in this space were people that have been there for years. Another thing that stood out to me was the fact that most of these exhibition spaces or opportunities for artists in Trinidad and Tobago and Caribbean as a whole, it was male dominated at the time that I was in Trinidad. Or at least that's how I felt. And I had never really seen a figure that I could look up to. I had people more like teachers or mentors along the way. And not that anything is wrong with being an art teacher. I absolutely loved my art teachers at the time, but they existed in different spaces. But I also wanted that woman power, to see that woman power in that space, or to be able to interact with another successful professional artist who was exhibiting, who was getting commissions, who was getting that exposure. And at my time in Trinidad, I just didn't see that. But what's great is that now I can see those things emerging, and I'm extremely happy to see things are evolving. And there's opportunity for emerging artists. There are opportunities for women artists to come into this space and have their voices be heard, have their artwork be shown, and for them to be celebrated as well. The last thing that I would mention regarding access is more on space and equipment. So in Trinidad, I didn't really see a lot of space or resources for like communal spaces where artists would have studios and go in and exhibit as a group after working on a body of work, or specific equipment for like printmaking, etc. Maybe I just was not in the right space at the time to be exposed to it, whereas I felt like in doing research online, there were so many different organizations or so many different opportunities like residencies, fellowships, etc. that would give artists the ability to create work, to try out and experiment with new equipment, to be in a space where they can not only get involved with their creative process, but get involved with other artists and actually show their work. This was something regarding access that I felt was lacking at the time, but I did see that when I had done my research online, there were a lot more opportunities for this in the United States. So that was something that got me really excited, because I knew that I can probably pass that knowledge back to Trinidad in helping to create those spaces and helping to foster conversations about the importance of having spaces like that where artists can communicate and be inspired by each other and kind of just bounce ideas off of each other, but also have a safe space where you can create and be free and start kind of stepping outside of your comfort zone as an artist and really start building a professional body of work. Reason number 2 was the value of art. During my time in Trinidad, I felt like art was more viewed than valued. And when I say that, I mean in terms of people seeing art as an investment. Yes, there was this celebration of art, and that's the kind of people that we are. We celebrate our culture, we celebrate the flamboyant and vibrant colors, people, etc. But in terms of fine artists and them being viewed as, or their work being viewed as an investment and really being valued, that was an area that I felt like was lacking. And as an emerging or aspiring artist, the first thing that people usually tell you is, I don't know if you are going to be able to sustain yourself in the long term. Are you going to be able to make money from your pieces to be able to pay rent, to pay for your car, to just be living? Is that possible? Probably not, because not many people have done it in the past. And you immediately start thinking of, what are ways that I can make money from my art if I do decide to do this as a career, if I do decide to do this full time? And seeing that there was a lack of opportunity for the art to be valued, it was more an opportunity for it to be exhibited or displayed or viewed. This created kind of a clash for me, where I felt like I absolutely loved my culture. I loved being in Trinidad, but I also wanted the opportunity for my art to be celebrated and also valued, because I knew that I was heading somewhere. I wasn't there yet. I'm still not there yet, but just getting to a point where people can support you in that, but also knowing that it's an investment, because over time, the value of your art increases. As long as, you are going upward in your career, as long as you're achieving more things, winning awards, getting different opportunities. And so that was an area that I felt like it lacked in Trinidad, and it's not something that's on Trinidad alone or on the Caribbean alone. This exists everywhere. But I think being in America and being in the United States, or at least seeing myself there and seeing the opportunities that presented themselves, there was a lot more freedom in terms of art collectors, juried art shows, just different places and environments where you could put your art for it to be valued. Okay, so my camera was actually dying. I needed to pop the battery into charge, and now we're back. But with regards to the value of art, I think a lot of people can argue that this is a universal thing. It's not only on Trinidad or on the Caribbean, but I think being in the United States, it just has a wider market of people who are willing to invest in artists and who truly value art as a whole. But the great thing is that although this was my experience at the time where I didn't really see opportunities for people to invest in my art or see a market that existed for art collectors, I do see that it is on the rise now in the Caribbean as a whole, where there are different galleries that are supporting contemporary art in the Caribbean. And I am extremely happy that now artists have the opportunity to be in a space and show their work and have it displayed, but also have someone say, oh, I love that enough to collect this piece, to add it to my permanent collection, to see it in my home, to see it in my office. And that really gives an artist a boost in their self-esteem, but also reassures them that they're on the right path, that someone values their artwork, that someone values their story. And so if you're an art collector or someone who loves art, just know that when you purchase a piece of work, it's not just that we are excited about the exchange and getting money and it being a business transaction, but just the fact that you loved the piece that much, that you want this to be something that's permanent, something that you're able to collect, and something that you're able to continue loving throughout its life. And so reason number 1, the biggest reason, the most important thing that kind of drove me from wanting to stay in Trinidad and pursue a career in Trinidad to making that leap and pursuing my education in the United States and coming to America was finding my purpose. So finding your purpose as an artist is extremely important, especially when you're at that point of like emerging artist and trying to get into being confident in calling yourself an artist. And for me, I think my passion at the time, or what I felt like was my artistic voice, was deeply rooted in my Trinbagonian culture. It was deeply rooted in my national pride. And not that anything has changed, not that I just wanted to leave Trinidad, never go back, hate being Trinidadian. I absolutely love Trinidad. I love my culture. I love my people. But I knew that just because I enjoyed doing portraits and just because I enjoyed capturing people's faces and their expressions didn't mean that I had to limit myself to only doing that for the Trinidadian culture. I needed that change of being in a different culture and being in a melting pot of many different cultures and being exposed to similarities and the differences, but also things that existed that were outside of the typical everyday celebration and color and people. But what are some things that we really don't feel comfortable talking about, some social issues that we maybe view as taboo? And that's when I really started seeing that there were overlapping things that were happening in the Caribbean at the time when I was there, but also happening when I moved to the United States. And that's when I truly felt like, okay, I'm not just going to create portraits just to capture someone's beauty, just to capture the way that they look, the way that they smile, but I really wanted my portraits to start telling stories and start capturing emotions, because that's something that we can connect on regardless of culture, regardless of location, regardless of race, regardless of who you are. But our emotions, that really connects all of us. So through my move, I realized that the one thing that I felt like I was really urging to tap into was finding my purpose through my artwork. Not only did I gain a greater appreciation for my Trinidadian culture, but I learned how to express myself and express my identity outside of that. And I learned that I can use my art to say things that I wouldn't feel comfortable saying, or make a statement on something that maybe people feel like they shouldn't comment on it, or it makes you feel weird to speak about. Ultimately, in Trinidad, I found my passion, which was art. And I did that through being a student, going through primary school, going through high school. Whereas making that leap and coming to the United States, I really found my purpose rather than my passion. And that's where I started building on my career as a professional as opposed to being a student. And I'm actually extremely grateful that I had that opportunity to build my foundation in Trinidad. And now being in Tampa, Florida, having all of these opportunities and being able to experience life as a full-time artist, it's surreal, but it also takes a lot of work. It's still a lot of learning for me. So I'm still a student, but I am definitely on a path where it's more intentional. I have my purpose. I have the resources. And so now I would like to give other people the opportunity who may be aspiring artists, who may be emerging artists, and have questions about, do I need to stay in a space and kind of feel things out and see how things should go? Or should I take that leap and be brave enough to take the risk and see if things can happen for me? So if you're an artist looking to take the next step in your career, whether that means migrating, whether that means doing something new, ask yourself, where am I at currently? Why is this change necessary? And how will this make an impact on me and others around me? In my next video, I'll discuss with you guys a little bit more on how I truly found my purpose and what it was like coming to America and becoming an artist. But thank you so much for staying and listening to this video. If you have any questions, leave them below, but don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace. If you'd like to see more of my journey, don't forget to follow me on Instagram. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. In my next video, I'll talk a little bit more. So, I'm wearing my not for your entertainment tee today. Bye. The one and only.